Those are Dairy Queens. So I got to make sure I keep it to one belt buster a day. It's been funny. People have asked me, why are you doing Dairy Queens? It's like, well, because there's one in every county, right? And I like blizzards. So, and honestly, so when y'all know my background. I'll touch on this briefly. I was born and raised in San Antonio in Leon Valley. I went to John Marshall High School and then Texas A&M University. Yeah, woo, Giga Maggies. I had the honor of serving as student body president the year of the bonfire collapse. And I'm one of the few Aggies that doesn't refer to University of Texas as TU. And part of that is because what the University of Texas did in one of our darkest times was amazing. And when I graduated from A&M, I was 22, and I went into the CIA. So I was the guy in the back alleys at 4 o'clock in the morning, collecting intelligence on threats to the homeland. I did 2 years in DC at what I used to call the super secret CIA training facility called the Farm, but now it's on Google Maps. And I did 2 years in India, 2 years in Pakistan, 2 years in New York City doing interagency work, and then a year and a half in Afghanistan where I managed all of our undercover operations. And in addition to collecting intelligence on threats to the homeland, I had to brief members of Congress. And I was pretty shocked by the caliber of our elected officials. And my mama said, you're either part of the problem, part of the solution. And so I left Kabul, Afghanistan, moved to Helotes, Texas, and ran for Congress. Growing up in Leon Valley, there's 2 places I never thought I'd live: Afghanistan and Helotes. But it was great, and I lost that first election. I lost that first election by 700 votes. I'm glad I don't tell that story anymore. And I had the opportunity to become a partner in a consulting firm, and we help clients grow in markets that never been in before. And we were a bunch of former CIA guys, and some of our clients would ask us, hey, we have some cybersecurity issues. And being good former CIA guys, we said, we know a guy, and I helped start a cybersecurity company. And it was a great experience. I'm glad I had that, because seeing how you start a company from scratch, flat-footed, right? You shouldn't have to worry about the tax code as the first thing. You should be worrying about how do you build a better widget, how do you hire really good people, how do you provide a superior service, right? We shouldn't have the federal government getting in the way of entrepreneurship and growing this economy. The number of small businesses make up the majority, the supermajority of businesses in Texas. And we need to be doing things that strengthen them. And having that experience was helped me be a better congressman. The opportunity came to run in 2014, and we took it and we won. So it's great representing my hometown of San Antonio, but this district goes all the way to El Paso, down to Eagle Pass. 29 counties, 2 time zones. It takes 10.5 hours to drive from one corner to the other at 80 miles an hour, which is the speed limit in about 75% of the district. I learned recently it's not the speed limit in all of Texas. And despite, I know we have the chief here, if you tell a law enforcement officer, I didn't know I couldn't do that, you still get a ticket. Yeah. So it's a great district to represent. I learned early on in a district that's 50-50. 50% Democrat, 50% Republican. You learn very quickly, no matter what you do, there's a good part of the district that's upset with you. But that's okay, I'm tough, I have a thick skin. I'm just worried about my mother when the nasty ads get run against me. She's not going to respond as diplomatically as I would. But the reason I ultimately won, and I think the reason that y'all sent me to Washington, D.C. is because we said we wanted to do 2 things. Be a leader on national security, and be the gold standard when it comes to constituent relations. Right? 75 to 80% of what we do is helping people fight the bureaucracy who need help fighting the bureaucracy. Right? I'm proud, and we do this, and it's not just me. I have the benefit of having my name on the door and my name's on the sign, but it's a much larger group that provides the services to y'all, the people that we represent, my bosses. And I want to introduce a couple of people so y'all know them. Stony Bird in the back. That's my chief of staff. He is Stony Burke, my chief of staff, not the famous cowboy. Stoney's from West Texas. I've known him since he was 14 years old. He ruined my life by suggesting I run for Congress. So I got to ruin him by making him be my chief of staff. Stoney does an amazing job, sees around corners, and is a huge advocate for all of us. Daniel Meza. Danny Meza, good Aggie, and he worked for Senator Cornyn for 12 years, and then he got a promotion to the Little Hurd campaign. I say that, I make that joke when Senator Cornyn's in the room, so he's okay with it. But Daniel has so much experience and knowledge of operating in Texas in this district, and he runs all of our Texas operations. Tyler Lowe, he is our newest addition. For the last year and a half, he was the counsel for the Homeland Security Committee, and he did his law degree in San Antonio, and he's Daniel's deputy. And it's great having his experience from the Homeland Security Committee because of all the work that we do on Homeland Security. We have Chinny Tavares from Fort Stockton. She's one of our field reps. Crisscrosses the district all the time. She and I have spent a lot of time in the car together. Henry Rivera, where's Henry? Henry is, again, one of our folks focused principally on constituent relations. He gets down in the weeds. He's the guy that's fighting with Social Security Administration, with Medicare, all those things. It's a great addition. Francisco here is one of our newest additions. He runs our office in Eagle Pass. And last but not least, John Arnold. John Arnold, a Longhorn. We let a few slip in. We let some TCU Horned Frogs in too. I don't know how that happened. I still haven't talked to Stoney about that. But John Arnold, 9.5-year veteran of the Army. He is the guy that is fighting the VA on y'all's behalf. He is the guy that he knows the process and he's been through it. He also helps us on military affairs issues. I'm very proud of the fact that last year we closed out 242 cases with the VA. That's a lot, and we're on track to hit that. Because, you know, despite the fact that Congress actually funded the VA at the highest levels it's ever been funded, we all know there's still some issues. Right? The Choice Card is a program. Choice Card is not perfect, but if you're a veteran and don't know about the Choice Card, make sure you reach out to John so we can educate you on this. If you have friends or family members that are veterans, they should learn about the Choice Card. Choice Card is a program that if your appointment at the VA is more than 30 days, then you can go on the local economy and go see a doctor. If you're more than 40 miles from the VA, you can go in and see a local doctor. Now, the initial start of this was rocky, to be frank, but we're starting to work out and streamline that process. Little things. Many of our veterans, especially out in far West Texas, we're having to travel for 3 or 4 miles to go in to see the VA just to get blood drawn. You should be able to do that locally. There's so many places where you can do that locally. And we're working on a pilot program that's going on right now in Uvalde. And hopefully we can make that across the state and across the nation. And so these are some of the things that we're doing. And here's the reality. When our veterans have a problem, we try to solve the problem for that individual. But if one person's having that problem, then thousands of people are having that problem. And when we solve the problem, that helps us figure out how we solve it on a macro level, right? And that's another one of the reasons why I come out here so much, is to hear from y'all. We've already learned a couple of things, like, you know, despite giving the VA the most money they've ever gotten, they're spending a whole lot of money, it seems, on art. Why are you doing that? Where is the art going? Why aren't we using that money on doctors? Right? So these are some of the things, when we hear them on the ground, we go back and investigate them up in Washington, D.C. So that's why we have crisscrossed this district dozens of times. I'm hearing from y'all. And it's also a good opportunity to talk to y'all about what's actually going on in Washington, D.C. Washington is indeed a circus, but you can't believe everything you see on television and newspaper. There are some things that are actually getting done, right? Many of y'all have probably never heard of the SGR fix. The SGR fix, we should have probably named it the Increasing Seniors Access to Doctors While Shaving $5 trillion off the national debt over 15 years. Because that's actually what it did. Every Student Succeeds Act. This was a repeal of No Child Left Behind. Republicans and Democrats agreed that No Child Left Behind was a problem. And guess what? We passed it. In this Congress, with this occupant of the White House, we got major legislation done that says it's no longer a one-size-fits-all solution to educating our kids. All right? Now, my fear, we're in a year of implementation. We can't let the states just implement a one-size-fits-all solution for that state. The idea was to have thousands of different laboratories going on, different experiments on educating our kids. And guess what? Y'all know what's best. Parents, teachers, principals, superintendents, boards, y'all know how to educate your kids, right? And what you need here is very different than what you need in El Paso, it's very different than what you need in Los Angeles. And it was this Congress, we passed that legislation. People aren't talking about it. This is huge, because here's the reality. We have to educate our kids for jobs that do not exist right now. The technological change we're going to see in the next 20 years is going to make the last 20 years look insignificant. And we have to be prepared for that. And that's why I believe educating our kids is a national security priority. Right? It starts with simple things, right? We got some kids here. I hope y'all are taking some computing jobs, right? It's some computing classes. Last year in Texas alone, 2015, there were 42,000 computing jobs that went unfilled. The average salary of those jobs, $89,000. That's more than twice the average of Texas. Now here's what's scary. Texas only produced 2,100 computer scientists to try to fill those jobs. And what's even scarier is only 5,000 kids in high school took the AP Computer Science course. That's the course, when you take it, you get college credit, right? Of those 5,000 kids, only 24% were girls. Less than 900 were Latino, and only 120 were African American. That's a problem. So we gotta work and make sure that we have computer science in high school, and that we get coding in the middle school. Because it's like for my generation. If you're under the age of 45 and don't know how to type, you're not getting a job. Our young kids, if they don't know how to code, I don't care if you're going to be an accountant or a doctor, that is going to permeate everything we do. So we have to make sure we're teaching our kids. And guess what? Washington gave the states and the communities the flexibility to do that. And now we have to take advantage of it. So good things are actually happening. How many of y'all are small businesses? All right? Section 179 of the tax code. Big deal. Tax breaks for investing in your company, investing in your employees. Every year this went back and forth. Are we going to do it? Are we not going to do it? What's the amount? We made it permanent. So now you can invest and receive tax benefit for investing in your company. And guess what? That's going to give you all the tools in order to grow our economy. Y'all are the ones that are putting our people in jobs, making sure they have a good paying job. And so being able to do that, tax code is not sexy, right? But this is how we make sure that our economy keeps growing. We came out with a plan that independent group said is going to grow our economy 9%. That's a huge, huge number. Right? That's how we make sure everybody's moving up the economic ladder. Right? And these are the kinds of things that are going on. Right? And it's exciting to be a part of this. It's exciting, shining a light on the problems that we have, especially when it comes to national security. That's my background. That's my passion. When we have a senior person in the federal government having a server that's not protected in her basement, that has classified information on it. Guess what? If I would have done that when I was in the CIA, y'all would be coming to visit me in Huntsville, right? We cannot allow an environment in our national security infrastructure to be created where we don't protect our secrets. I get upset because my friends that are still in the CIA are putting themselves in harm's way to collect those secrets. We have our men and women that are fighting every single day and every single night to keep us safe overseas, fighting to protect those secrets. And we can't have senior officials back here in Washington, D.C. that completely disregards them. So that's why Congress has to hold people accountable. We have a long way to go in doing that, but we can if we have the right people in office. Now I'm going to stop there. I've talked too long. I would love to hear some questions. I speak in the high schools as much as I can, and I tell the kids, I say, I know what I know what I don't know, but what I don't know is the largest of those three categories. So I'm taking pearls of wisdom. Yes, ma'am.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and I just want you to know on behalf of my family, we appreciate the Washington Oversight Committee meeting, and the way he spoke was awesome. If you do nothing else,
I've learned, I lose my cool a few times, I feel like that's my responsibility. I'm the only former CIA officer in Congress. I'm the only one that has that experience, and it's my responsibility to articulate that. You know, another example is, I do a lot on cybersecurity. The Social Security Administration has information on every American. All right? Our seniors are the targets of fraudsters to try to get information to perpetuate fraud. We had the Chief Information Security Officer in front of my committee for the Social Security Administration. This is the person responsible for protecting the digital infrastructure of the Social Security Administration, responsible for protecting our information. Now they had a test done 9 months prior to see how many problems they had in their networks. So my first question was, how many problems did y'all have in your networks? Senior person responsible for security said, I don't know the number. I'm like, okay. How many critical vulnerabilities did you have? You know, critical vulnerability is one of those things that has to be fixed immediately. I don't know. And then my next question was, well, what are you doing to address these larger concerns? Her response was many different things. For those of y'all that are not technical, that is not a technical response. And so again, we have to shine a light on some of these problems. We also have to make sure that a person like that has all the authorities to do his or her job. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do in Congress. And once that person has the authority, then I'm going to hold you accountable for doing that job. And so that's one of the roles in Congress, that oversight role is important. Yes, sir.
I think I speak for a lot of the people here today. One of the reasons people like you here, because you're not your typical politician. Same rhetoric, same speeches, same promises, don't do anything. I've kept up on how you vote on things, and the way you do things, and you do what's best for your constituents and what you believe in without any political ties. That's right.
Well, look, I appreciate that, and I appreciate that. You know, we'll get to you in a second, sir. You know, my father told me a long time ago when we were kids, be honest, right? And the one person you can't fool is the person when you're shaving in the morning that's looking back at you. And so for me, it's about do what you think is right and tell people why you did it. 1 second, man, right here.
Mr. Hurd, who responds to your email that is sent to you? Very prompt. I have to say that it's very prompt that I received it. Anyone in your staff here?
Yeah, so the question is, we're very prompt in responding to our emails. Everybody that just smiled when you said that, they're the ones that respond. No, so we have a process in place in order to handle that kind of interaction. And honestly, when it comes to the major issues, I review the final responses, right? And look, there are a certain number of boxes of issues that we do, right? And ultimately, I'm the guy that's held accountable. And so, but many of these folks here are involved in that. Is Jessica here today? No? Jessica Guerra, who's in our San Antonio office, is the one that manages that process. But a lot of people here are involved with that, right? John handles the VA and military issues. Henry does a lot of things when it comes to Social Security. When it comes to policy, Stoney is intimately involved. So it's a team effort, right? And so listen, we read these things, we respond to these things. These contacts inform me, right? And again, y'all's stories. Right? We just passed some pretty significant legislation out of the House on opioids, which deals with pain management. Right? And hearing those stories about pain management that's happening in the community, it helps inform me and how to articulate that to people up in Washington, D.C. Right? And so keep sending it in. Keep sending those requests in. Because, like I said, my title is representative. Now take that seriously. I don't represent just San Antonio. I don't represent just San Antonio, which is the biggest city in the district. I represent Loving County. Population 95. The second least populated county in the United States of America. I've been to Mentone, the county seat, twice. I've met 72 of the 95 people. And the last time I was there, I asked the county judge, I said, Judge, there's 13 people I still haven't met. He said, Hurd, they don't want to be met. I'm going to go ahead and say I met everybody. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, ma'am.
Back when I was a lot younger in the Air Force, I had a side-up conference.
Yep.
And, you know, as a young person, with that type of clearance, you walk around a little bit on eggshells sometimes. And there was points that I was across that media, and I was really fantastic. But how does the government authorize this kind of thing? I mean, you know, I know it blows my mind that she can get by. I would be 11 when the big rocks in the
So the question is, this young lady, when she was in the Air Force, was involved in PSYOP, psychological operations, information operations, is generally how it's articulated. And one of the, and her question is, you know, she walked around with a lot of secrets, was oftentimes, you know, asked by the IG, kind of testing her, whether she was going to say things she shouldn't say, right? And how did the former Secretary of State, Ms. Clinton, get away with what she did? So I'm not a lawyer, but I've learned a lot about intent. So the question is, the way the Espionage Act is written, there's a section called 798, and it basically says gross negligence. You can, if gross negligence, that means if you're stupid, you can get arrested for misusing classified information. Okay? Putting a unauthorized server. Fact. State Department did not authorize an individual server. Now some people will say, well, other former secretaries of states use private email. They used commercial email, and they were not sharing secrets on their commercial email. When Colin Powell was Secretary of State, there were embassies overseas that did not have email at all. That's crazy. It was 2000, right? So the issue is unauthorized server in the basement. FBI was clear. The protections on that server were basically non-existent. And we know there was at least 7 emails that had TSSCI, top secret, special compartmented information. Those are secrets, all right? That stuff you get from someone overseas who's working with us. That stuff you get from signals intelligence, like what the NSA does, right? We know 7. There were at least 30-some thousand emails that were deleted. We have no clue what was in them, okay? And what the director of the FBI said, despite that rule, that 798 I was telling you about, that says gross negligence, he says DOJ and the FBI put a higher bar to clear, and that you have to prove intent. The law was not written with the word intent in it, but they have a higher standard. And it's hard to prove intent, all right? So one of the things that we're trying to do in DC is work on legislation where if you're a senior intelligence officer, a senior executive within the government, or you're a cabinet level official, intent does not have to be clear. We're probably going to call it Hillary's Law. So, yes, sir.
Back when you first ran, you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Back when you first ran, I mean,
Yeah. There's already legislation to that effect to put in term limits, right? And seeing that move is going to be incredibly difficult. And here's the reality. There are people up there that have been there too long. I think to do this job well, you have a shelf life, right? To crisscross this district in order to make sure you're in tune with the district is valuable. And here's the final thing on this. Guess what? Every 2 years, you have the opportunity to term limit people out. And if more districts were like this one, that were a tight race, we would see some change. I don't know, but we can get you that. I don't know the co-sponsor, but I can get you that information. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. On the issue of interoperable radios, responding, border patrol, law enforcement. Radios are changing, life, cell phones are changing. Is the language there, ultimately, you're ready for that voice of smart radios that have locations,
So I'd love to talk to you a little bit further, getting into the weeds on this, but the interoperability of radios is something that we've been dealing with the last couple of months. One of the areas where we work on that is Stone Garden funds. Stone Garden are Department of Homeland Security funds to local and state law enforcement that have to provide a supporting role to border security. Because here's the reality: when there's a border issue, the first person that gets called is not Border Patrol, it's the sheriff, right? And so we got to make sure the sheriff has the tools because they play an integral role on that. So we've been involved on that issue. We've been involved with the, I'm drawing a blank on the organization. It's a multi-county organization that is working on this and does the grant writing for that. But when it comes to the specific brand and flavor of the radio, I'd love to hear more about that. Tyler, with the beard over there, no glasses, those details, we'd love to follow up and give you more on that. Last question, and then we're going to stay for a little while longer if people have private questions. Yes,
Yes, I work for the only hospital provider in the county, and we're a critical access hospital. And with all the recent healthcare reform, just want to say how important it is that we continue to view in the right lens our critical access for our hospitals because we're such a safety net for so many people, and just want to make sure that that stays.
No, and look, this is where I need y'all's help in educating me on these issues. And look, the last 19 months, I've learned a lot about what y'all do because this is a unique challenge in the 23rd district, and it's one of my responsibilities to articulate that challenge to my fellow colleagues who come from highly urban areas because there are unique challenges that you have. One of the things that bill I was talking about earlier, the SGR fix, part of that was getting funds to some of the FHQs, right, the federally qualified healthcare providers. They were going to take a 75% hit in their operation. That's crazy. Only folks in Washington, D.C. do you think an organization can survive when they take that big of a hit, right? So that's why the two-way communication is important in order to do this. So thank you for that. Another group I want to thank, Chief. Thank y'all to the Devine Police. for being here, for what y'all do. Y'all have a very important role in the community. Yes, sir. One more.
Can I take this opportunity here to discuss a couple of things here? I spent 26 years in the Marine Corps, and the highlight of my career was 6 months in North Vietnam as a linguist interpreter getting good to war. I also speak Russian and French. Now, you can do anything in the military that you want to do. It's all the effort that you put into it. I never thought I would wind up in North Vietnam for the better part of 6 months trying to get our prisoners out of there. And we did. We're doing pretty good. Whatever we do to the best of our ability until the last one was out. So, my message to you is the military is here for you also, for your kids, grandkids. My 2 kids were in the Marine Corps, my daughter's in Coast Guard. So, my whole family's in the military. I'm going to be writing a book about that and others. I have a master's in Spanish and a master's in English, so I can handle both of them, besides the other languages.
Well, thank you for your service and your family's service. And on that note, one of the things that we get to do in Washington, we provide a number of services. So if you're ever in Washington, D.C. and want a tour of the Capitol or other places, we can help arrange that. If you want to go through the White House, we can help arrange that. One of the things that we also do is we fly flags on behalf of folks, when we're contacted. And I have a flag that I want to present, to Major Law for his 21 years of service in the U.S. Armed Forces. Major Law. Here we go. This one right there. Major, you want to say anything?
Thank you very much. One thing I just wanted to say to you personally, my daughter was a freshman at A&M one fireman, so very close to that.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. And one final story before we go. Early in my time in Congress, I was supposed to give a tour of the Capitol. And I had never given a tour of the Capitol, and I thought this was going to be a pretty crummy tour if I didn't know where to show people. So I called the Capitol Visitor Center, and I said, hey, can you send someone to give me an hour tour? So they sent a young lady who was 67 years old. She had been serving at the Capitol Visitor Center for 17 years, and she gives me a tour. Ends up being 3.5 hours. And at the end, she has me standing tall, my chest is out, and I was proud. Because she had told me I was one of 20,000 people that had ever served in Congress. That's freshman class at Texas A&M University of Texas. I was connected to people like Sam Houston and Abraham Lincoln. And I was part of an organization that for 240 years had been exporting democracy all across the country. Now we have a long way to go to repair the trust with the American people, but do know this, there's a handful of us that are fighting on your behalf to make sure we keep this the greatest country on the planet. So thank you for the opportunity to let me serve you. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.